I'm now going to tell you about a medical plant, actually a root called ashwagandha. Ashwagandha has been used and studied in India for many, many centuries. It's also been studied by modern science. There are thousands of studies looking at ashwagandha and how it can help with many neurologic disorders and other problems too. I think that it's fascinating that the original meaning of the word ashwagandha translates to strong like horse. This root tends to help with stamina and strength. It is gentle. In the studies on it, I am not seeing contraindications, any adverse side effects, or any drug interactions either. It is a root that can actually be added to soups and stews. It can be made into teas, or it can be made into capsules and swallowed. It significantly increases dopamine production in brain cells and was found to alleviate gait disorders. The plant root has been shown to increase antioxidant enzymes. Glutathione peroxidase is one of our main antioxidant enzymes that are used in the brain and elsewhere, which is, by the way, dependent upon selenium, or it doesn't work. We have to get selenium in our diet somehow. It reduced damaging products of lipid peroxidation, such as malondialdehyde, in just 7 days of treatment. It may also promote neurite growth, which is fantastic because that means that neurites are the processes such as dendrites and axons that come out of the nerve cells. And if your axons to the striatum are growing back and staying healthy, then this is a very good thing for movements. Something to consider, I have known many people who have added ashwagandha to their program, and I have seen some improvement, and there are many studies looking at ashwagandha too. And I look forward to seeing more. It's more difficult to get good studies with a plant because there's no profit-based funding. Nobody's making a lot of money selling ashwagandha. The ashwagandha lobby just isn't really promoting this to the FDA. So but in other countries, they do use ashwagandha very heavily. And so there's some good research coming. Here's another common plant, licorice root. Researchers in Iran used licorice root and tremors were reduced by half in 6 months. The Unified Parkinson's Disease Rating Scale and the motor scores improved 10%, while controls worsened 10%. So this is a motor score. The Unified Parkinson's Disease Rating Scale also looks at other aspects such as activities of daily living and thinking abilities. Now, licorice root powder is sweet and can be added to tea instead of sugar. It's very easy to add a little bit of licorice root powder, and which contains this glycyrrhezic acid. The Latin name is Glycyrrhezic glaber. So the extract glycyrrhezic acid is named after that. And it has some unique polyphenols that can really help. This is another thing that's easy to incorporate. Just sweeten your tea with licorice instead of sugar. No problem. Oh, here's one more medical plant. We use Ginkgo biloba in the Hawaii dementia prevention trial. Been extensively studied. And we did use the standardized extract so that people always got the same amount of active constituents. Ginkgo helped to restore dopamine levels in this study below in the Journal of Aging Research and Clinical Practice. It restored tyrosine hydroxylase so people could make their own levodopa in the substantia nigra, pars compacta, and the striatum. The neuroprotective effect of Ginkgo is reduction in oxidation. It can boost our superoxide dismutase and reduce superoxide radical production. It blocks lipid peroxidation. That's basically when our fats inside our body go rancid. The one possible contraindication with Ginkgo biloba is if you're already taking a blood thinner, such as warfarin, Pradaxa, Xarelto, Eliquis, any of the blood thinners, then it's not recommended to also take Ginkgo biloba. One of the ways it works is it tends to thin the blood enough to get into the brain in the tiny capillaries to supply brain cells with the blood, the oxygen, the glucose, and the waste removal that they need. And so it's not advisable to take it also with other blood thinners. I'm just going to mention one combination of two B vitamins. And this is not to help with Parkinson's disease, but it's been found that people with Parkinson's disease die from the same heart attacks and strokes that other people do. And reduction of homocysteine is very helpful for reducing risk of heart attacks and strokes. So by adding these two B vitamins, folate and vitamin B12, they were able to reduce homocysteine from high levels, as the graph shows, or moderate levels down to safe levels, very quickly, just 5 weeks, and it was down. Now you'll notice that I'm saying folate here instead of folic acid. Folic acid is a synthetic mimic of true folate. Folate is found in food. Folic acid is not found in food. Folic acid is made in a laboratory. And the problem is that if you get too much folic acid, it can increase cancer risk. So I never would recommend or use folic acid. Unfortunately, most supplements which supply B vitamins supply folate in the form of folic acid. And so I would never recommend those. You see here a bottle of brain and body food. This was originally made for people who couldn't get into our Hawaii dementia prevention trial. And this contains real folate and real vitamin B12 in the methylcobalamin form. I am author of the McGraw-Hill College textbook, Vitamins and Minerals Demystified. And this is available both as a textbook and as an ebook from McGraw-Hill or any bookseller. And so I have studied carefully the vitamins and minerals, and I would love it if this textbook would be used in medical schools and nursing schools. But so far, I haven't found a single one who's willing to teach nutrition in America. Isn't that sad? I'm now going to talk about Lewy body dementia. Lewy body dementia can be a problem in Parkinson's disease. They're clumps of aggregated alpha-synuclein protein inside neurons, and they can be present, not always, in Parkinson's disease, but dementia risk is higher in Parkinson's disease, mostly from these clumps of alpha-synuclein protein. By the way, alpha-synuclein is a necessary part of neurotransmission and is very useful, but when it gets aggregated and clumped, it can cause problems with thinking and memory. Now, bicolin is a component of skullcap herb, and it was found to reduce the formation of alpha-synuclein in Lewy bodies. It reduced dopamine depletion, and it hindered the alpha-synuclein aggregation in the Lewy bodies, reduced the toxicity of the alpha-synuclein in Lewy bodies. Isn't that fantastic? Now, some information about skullcap herb. It's widely available. It can be gotten in organic form. And you do need to know that skullcap herb can make you sleepy. And this is important to know, that you shouldn't take it during the day if you're going to be driving, especially heavy equipment, but no, cars too. Skullcap herb should only be taken in the evening, typically before you're ready for bed. And it does have a way of calming down the neurotransmitters in the brain. And that's nice if you have trouble sleeping. And I know many people with Parkinson's disease that have trouble sleeping and have used the skullcap herb. Sometimes it's very helpful and sometimes it isn't, but it's never harmful. So it's something to put in your potential arsenal. But reducing the alpha-synuclein is a nice side benefit of sleepy time tea. Here is a Resveratrol from red grapes. Of course, you can eat the red grapes too. It reduces Lewy bodies by clearing the aggregated alpha-synuclein. Isn't that fantastic? There's protective antioxidant enzymes like glutathione that protects dopamine-producing cells from cell death. It has its own antioxidant action and many antioxidants in whole grapes. It also, the resveratrol protects mitochondria, sustaining energy production that can keep those dopamine-producing brain cells alive. I would recommend eating organic whole grapes to get your resveratrol rather than some extract. And it would be safer and healthier than drinking red wine. Now, here's a plant that many of you have heard of, turmeric. It decreases oxidative damage and Lewy bodies. It promotes the degradation of alpha-synuclein. The curcumin in turmeric is one of the curcuminoids that's most active, curcumin, can rescue dopamine-producing cells by reducing the oxidative damage to the mitochondria. Remember, I talked about that. The energy-producing factories, our mitochondria, can get damaged, and then that can lead to cell death, and turmeric helps to prevent this. Excellent study in the journal Antioxidants, Dietary Antioxidants and Parkinson's Disease, published 2020, if you're interested in learning more about this. Turmeric also showed a significant improvement in motor performance in this study down here. Now, this study was not a clinical trial, but was a simulated clinical trial, and so not as reliable as I'd like. But since turmeric is so anti-inflammatory and beneficial otherwise, I did look at this study, and it did cause a significant improvement in motor performance, which could be useful. Black tea and green tea can reduce the toxicity of Lewy bodies. And what can you add to that to sweeten it? Well, how about a little bit of licorice? Tea reduced the toxicity of alpha-synuclein, so it didn't damage brain cells and cause problems with thinking. And tea has powerful antioxidants. We know the catechols in tea are powerful antioxidants, catechins, excuse me. They can reduce cell death in dopamine-producing cells. And in general, population studies have found that black tea and green tea can reduce the risk of Parkinson's disease 25 to 50%. It's a big reduction.